Hello.
Heidi ho, neighbor.
Howdy ho, neighbor. Howdy ho. It's Mr. Hanky. All my South Park people know what that's from.
South Park. That's a throwback.
Yep.
Wow. Black at it again for another not so private conversations with us, your favorite LDBs, your long distance besties.
LDBs. I would say Martini Mondays, but I have a frozen cup. So frozen cup Mondays.
It's Martini Monday over here for me. So
somebody send me some gin.
Another week. We just out here trying to stay sane in this pandemic.
Oh my gosh. How long has it even been? I lost count.
Aren't we approaching 5 months?
Oh my, seriously? I don't even feel like it's been that long.
Is that right? 4 to 5 months, I guess.
I mean, I'm not doubting you. I think you're right. I'm just like, I just don't feel like it's been that long.
So, like I was saying, we just out here trying to make sense out of this crazy thing called life. I guess the last 4 months, I've really realized that you can't make sense out of nonsense. This whole year has been nothing but nonsense. From literally, when you think about it, from January up to now, we had such high hopes for 2020, and it was just all shot down. Like 2020 had other things in mind.
I had so many goals set for 2020. I bought me a new planner. I like filled it out all the way. I filled out the goals page for the year.
Right. You know. So being that 2020 is just totally different from our expectations, like I think it's really showing us that we don't have the control that we thought we had. And we don't know what we thought we knew. And we definitely have not been doing and still are not doing what we're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, we don't know.
So there's that. So there's that.
We don't know nothing. I just accepted it.
Yeah, they were like, oh, the second half of the year is going to be better than the first half.
Please.
Psych.
So there was like 430 something thousand cases in Florida.
Jeez.
And like California had the most, so they had more than that. And I forgot what was the third state that was in the top 3.
If gotcha.
The big 3.
2020 definitely got us. But on a more serious note, I was watching the news today. I do want to say, because we didn't say this last week, but I do want to say rest in peace to Congressman and Civil Rights leader John Lewis. A true American hero.
Yeah.
And his body's actually lying in state today at the U.S. Capitol, as it should.
Yes.
He's the first Black lawmaker to do so. Isn't that crazy that in 2020 we're still having these kind of firsts? It's monumental, but at the same time, it's really sad. It's really sad.
Yeah.
And can't forget, rest in peace to civil rights leader C.T. Vivian.
Yes.
They actually passed away on the same day.
Day, yeah. I saw
July
that.
17th, 10 days ago. And I don't know. I was just thinking about it. I was like, I don't have the words, because now that John Lewis is gone, that means the big 6, all of them are gone. So Martin Luther King, James Farmer, A. Philip Randolph, Roy Wilkins, Whitney Young, and John Lewis. They're all gone.
I haven't even been able to like watch anything. Did you watch any of the funeral stuff? I can't.
I watched, and
I can't even watch the flashbacks, the little flashback videos. I get all teary.
Yeah, I get really, really, really sad and somber. It was, for the most part, from what I saw, it was good, and then some of it kind of did overshadow some of the other coverage around your president. Overshadowed the coverage, because I knew he was going to say that he wasn't going to acknowledge and at least go and attend the service. I knew that, but it just it angers me, but I'm, whatever.
I just want to say, don't be disrespecting me. That ain't my president. It's lawless over here.
That's not my president. But regardless of what him and whoever else who we know just don't support, whatever, regardless of what they say, John Lewis, C.T. Vivian, the Big Six, and so many other civil rights leaders, their imprint on history and their legacy will last forever. Yeah. Like, forget what you heard.
It's written in stone.
Yeah, forget 45 and his terrible legacy.
Solidified. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they solidified their places in history. They definitely did.
Absolutely. So this week, I think it is really important for us to finally have this conversation regarding COVID-19.
We haven't really talked about it. We've talked about it briefly. Mm-hmm. And then we've both known a few people who've had it, and we talked about that, but we didn't really get into it. Right. So the news cycle is basically back to being nonstop COVID coverage and such. And for months now, we've seen reports, we've seen the lies, we've seen the conspiracy theories and the death rates and the infection rates and the recovery stats and all that stuff. What is the definition of breaking news anymore? Because it's like, if everything's breaking news, does breaking news even exist? Right. Everything is breaking news. So we've seen all of that, and it is just exhausting. It's particularly draining for me as an educator for obvious reasons, but it's so exhausting. And it's almost like we just don't get a moment to breathe. So in one form or another, we've all been affected by COVID, right? We know somebody. It's a pandemic, and we're tired of hearing the word pandemic. I'm over it. but this is our new reality. So whether you got positive results or your family or friends have, or coworkers or neighbors, your job was affected, your travel plans were affected, we all are at the point, I think, where we know somebody who's dealing with it or dealt with it. Right? Definitely. So, but if you don't, then after this conversation, you will. So I want to call my cousin to join us for this conversation to share his personal experience with this. So do you know who I'm talking about? I know. LDBs don't know. Fantastic. You gonna call him by his whole name? I'm gonna call him by his whole government name. So quick backstory on him before we call him. This is my older first cousin. His name is Ronald Michael Piper. I'm pretty sure he's gonna laugh when he hears this back. But we're first cousins. Our dads are fraternal twins. He's named after my dad, and my older brother is named after his dad. So they're the Ronalds and Donalds. So anyway, we call him Mike because his middle name is Michael. He was born and raised in Lake Charles, and he is a resident of Baton Rouge, where you are. Woo-hoo. He is a graduate of LSU, and now he is an indirect sales executive for Cricket, which sounds super fancy. But he basically said he's the area sales or territory sales manager for them. He's also a musician, and if you know, he is one of the kickback kings. If you know him and his crew, those kickbacks in Baton Rouge. He's just a jack of all trades. Yeah. Super lit. And lastly, because we cannot forget, he is a husband of almost 6 years to my girl Kristen. Yes. So let's call Mike.
Yo.
Hey, what's up?
What's happening? Mia drinking? Like I don't. Yeah.
Oh, it's
I didn't.
Martini
Martini
Mondays.
Mondays.
Well, y'all didn't tell me about that. Like I'm like sitting on the porch and like I didn't know about this.
You see, we said it like duh.
Right. It's just our little thing that we do.
Oh, well, thanks for the memo for the little thing.
All right. So, first of all, how is life? How are you doing?
We just jumping right in this.
We just jumping right in.
So straight to the point.
I thought it was gonna be like an introduction or something, but okay.
We took care of that already.
Oh yeah, we already did that. We dived in head first, no neck.
Head first, no neck.
All right, here we go. How's everything going? Everything's good. You know, at this point in time, people know I went through the whole COVID joint.
Right.
So everything is on the up and up. Just had a conversation with somebody today. Is just one of the things that they don't really talk about, and I don't think they got to that point yet, is what's the after effects of this stuff.
Right. That's exactly what we want to get into.
Yeah. So we don't know, like, and it's funny, like, you feel something in your toe, and you're like, wait,
Corona?
Did COVID do that? You know what I'm saying? So
that's so funny. Jordan coughed earlier, and I put my hand, the back of my hand, on his neck. I was like, "Come here."
Yeah.
Check that temperature right now.
Yeah. So let's start at the top. So you had it.
Yes.
What made you go get tested? Did you realize you were exposed to someone, or did someone let you know something, or what happened?
So I talked about this on a podcast too, man. It's circle of friends, bro. Like it was my support system, man, because so I got a fever that Wednesday, and I was feeling weird, and I was like, this is my sinuses, it'll blow off. So that Wednesday, I come home, I go to sleep, I wake up, I'm soaking wet.
Oh wow.
And I'm like, oh, I'm straight. Like I done sweated off the fever, So even at that time, my circle of friends was like, they were like, man, you don't want to go get tested? Like they were trying to be funny. I was like, nah, I think I'm straight on that, bro. I don't want to really go get tested. And they were like, man, a fever back then ain't a fever today. So I was like, all right. So the next day, I actually woke up and I still felt bad. And I have calls with my job on Friday mornings. And I had to like text them and say, man, I don't really want to jump on the call today because I don't want to bring nobody's spirit down. And when I said that, my director was like, go get tested. And I was like, So at that point, I had, 10 to 11 people in my Flag of Jamaica group. Shout out Flag of Jamaica. And my director all telling me to go. So I went.
So when you decided to go, were you like thinking back, who was I around?
Yeah.
What was I doing? How did this happen?
So, well, first on the way up there, you're not really, you don't really think you got it, right? You're like, I ain't got this. The devil is a lie. I ain't, Jesus, stop it right now. You know what I'm saying? So you're not really thinking that, but to answer your question, once I did, when they told me, I was just like, what?
Yeah.
It was like, yeah, you're positive. Who you been around? And I'm like, okay, right? Like, so then I start, your brain start thinking all kind of stuff. You're like, man, I knew I should have worn my gloves in the Sam's. I knew I left my gloves. I didn't wear them. And then I didn't have, I ain't gonna lie, I didn't have a mask at that time in Sam's. You gotta think about it. This was when the very beginning when they were like, oh, you should probably wear a mask, or you probably shouldn't wear a mask, or, it was one of those things. And while I'm in Sam's, the only thing I could think in my mind is like, bruh, this air conditioning is recycled.
Yeah.
So I was like, yo, like,
AC blowing COVID everywhere. That's crazy. COVID. So
all over the malls.
You go get tested. They tell you, yeah, you're positive. What was the test like? Was it the finger prick? Was it the Q-tip up the nose? Was it the blood test? Like what What form of test did you have?
A fingerprint? Man,
Finger
they stuck
prick,
that.
like they stick your finger.
Girl, they stuck that thing all the way up in my nose. I felt it in my throat. Oh my goodness, yes. So
Dang.
yes. And I got tested. I've been tested for corona 4 times.
Wow.
Jeez.
Mm-hmm.
You should
And
be
nobody
used to
knows.
it by now.
Yeah, nobody knew that. Like
Wow.
4 times I've been tested 4 times. And same thing, up the nose.
Yeah. Each time. So they tell you you're positive,
Right.
and they say, okay, now what? Do you immediately start taking medication? Do they say, okay, go quarantine? Or like, what happens after you are positive and you have the paperwork to show it?
So what's so funny about that? I was gonna say that earlier, but it's so funny you came back around. The lady says, "So yeah, you're positive. Who you been around?" I'm like, I mean, I don't know. And she just says, "Okay, well, go home and quarantine 14 days." And in my mind, I'm like, "Wait, you just told me I got something that's like killing people at this point. I
Right.
mean, people are dying because of this, and the only thing you told me was, well, just go home, like just like that, like, well,
Go
just
home.
go."
So they didn't write you a prescription for anything?
Ain't no prescription.
Well, that's true. That's true. That is very true.
Ain't
No
no prescription.
prescription.
I was gonna do that, but that I figured that was gonna be. But yeah. So it's like no, they tell you to go take Tylenol for your fever.
Mm.
Yeah, that's fine. Take Tylenol for your fever and stay home 14 days.
Wow,
That's it.
that's crazy. So we know that the incubation period for COVID-19 is like what, 2 to 14 days. They say it's an average time between 4 to 5 days from exposure to where your symptoms will onset. So I think one study was saying that like 97% of people with COVID who develop symptoms will get them within 11 and a half days or something like that. When did you actually start? So you said you started with a fever and you were
Yeah.
sweating the fever out.
Yeah, so I started with a fever. That's
So
kind
you were
of
already in between that 2 to 14 day period.
You didn't
I
feel
guess.
anything before the fever came on?
No, because what's weird is like that Monday. I remember like just that Monday and Tuesday, I jogged and walked like 3 miles.
Okay.
Like that Monday, Tuesday. So like I thought in good shape at the time, right? And then that Wednesday, everything went downhill. So
Yeah.
I couldn't, I don't know. It was weird. It was weird.
From Tuesday to Wednesday, fever like that, and you were like sweating and all that.
Yep.
That's wild. So aside from the fever, when you really started taking notice to it, what other symptoms did you have? Because the range of symptoms is like super crazy. Like we know about the taste and smell going, dizziness, flu-like symptoms, nausea, all types of stuff. Like what type of stuff were you experiencing?
So that Wednesday night was more like body aches. Like I was aching really, really bad that day. I body aches, think like that maybe that beginning of the next week was when I started losing my taste and my smell. And that was pretty awkward because Kristen had made some food and she was like, "Hey, how does this taste?" And I was like, "This is not good at all. Like, taste anything? You mustn't put any seasoning." And she was like, "No, I put a lot of seasoning in it." So at that point, I was like, "Well, there goes that taste and that smell."
Yeah.
So from there, I guess. Well, speaking of Kristen, did she have to go get tested?
So she did go get tested the same day, and she was negative. So she and she was worried a little bit because she had been working. She had really been out working more than I had because I was at work from home at that point. And so she was worried that she brought it home and all this other stuff. So, but she was negative. So at that point, it was like, well, don't know who did it now. But she put me in 2 rooms, so I only had the bedroom and the office. That's all I had.
That's a good thing. You need to be in isolation.
bedroom and office. If I came out, I had the mask on, I had my glove. Like, think about that. Thinking about walking around your own crib with a mask on.
Yep. Got to do it. So Kristen really like took care of you through the whole time.
So this is what we gonna do on this podcast. I knew this is a women's
Look,
thing.
it's a wife. It's a wife. Okay,
it's a wife.
I knew it was a women's thing. You guys baited me into this. Yes. No lie, don't know how I could have did it without her. Only because, man, like, you didn't really feel like doing too much of nothing, to be honest with you, bro. And it was so weird because we put I had I had one of them TV stands that was like for dinner that was sitting like right at the edge of the room. So she would like come in and just drop my food. Like, I thought I was like in jail or something. Like, she would drop my food on the table and turn around. And she comes in wearing masks, gloves, like all this stuff. And I'm like, this is
girl on it.
Yeah, she was on it.
Shout out to Kristen. The unsung heroes are the people who have to care for the people with COVID.
Yeah. Only on this podcast. But it's okay.
But it's really amazing that she never tested positive for it at all.
Right.
Oh, I mean, of course, she didn't go back and get tested. Now, it's one of those, you know, speaking of unsung, right? It's another one of those unsung things where it's like, did she? Right? You know, she hasn't taken the, what's that thing? The
antibodies test, yeah.
Yeah, she hasn't taken that yet, so she doesn't know if, you know, maybe she did. She told me that she lost her taste and smell for a small period, but she didn't want to tell me because she didn't want to like be like, oh man, now I done brought the whole house down, like, you know. So, but once again, it's one of those things that most of America, man, if I had to put a percentage, I would say almost 80 to 85% of the people in the United States don't even know they even had it, and I believe they had it.
Right, some form or another. I think like we've all had some form of it because I was going back in February.
Yeah.
I was sick, lost my taste, lost my smell, and it was from like a Thursday to a Monday, but I felt fine after that. And I think it just got worse.
Further than that for some people. I've been hearing people talk about December.
November, December, yep.
Yeah. So it's like people been having it. There was this lady on 90 Day Fiance, and she caught it.
Oh my goodness.
And she didn't find out. She was in a coma for a month. Yeah, and they couldn't figure out what it was. And then after she woke up and like later on, they were like, they thought it was coronavirus. But Mike, I wanted to ask you, like, how did you deal with it, like, mentally and emotionally? Like, what was going through your head? Like, what was going through your head when you tested positive? What was going through your head, like, when you got home, you had to lay down? What was going through your head when Kristen was taking care of you?
Oh,
how did you keep your spirits up, or were your spirits
up? So it was different levels. It was levels to this by all means. So like the first day, unless it got leaked out, I don't even think Mia knew for the first couple of days.
No, we didn't know for a good while.
Yeah, so it was one of those things that I didn't want to release it as much because of just what you said. It was a mental thing. So like day one, I come home and I'm like, what the hell just happened? Like, is this really happening? Right? And then you go into this little state where it's like, I mean, you still don't hear nothing positive with COVID on the news. And I had to keep up with COVID due to my job to kind of figure out what's, you know, the waves and what's going to be shut down, what's not. So I was indebted into the news. But that day, I didn't watch a single. I still, to that day, have not watched CNN when it comes to COVID and anything like that. I just still haven't. But mentally, the first day was crazy. I really just, you know how when you got a whooping when you was a baby, you just went to sleep and hopefully you wake up and you feel like everything's over with. So I went and took a nap and then
great comparison.
I mean, that was
I'm visualizing it. I'm visualizing, like I can see it.
Yeah, because you got a lot of whoopings. So I mean, you understand like how that goes, right? So like, I went to
No
sleep
lies.
and then it was no lies, no lies. So I went to sleep and the next day it was just like, all right, one day at a time. That literally was going through my head, like one day at a time. You look at the calendar, you look at 14 days, and you're like, all right, one day.
Right.
But what kept my spirits were the scriptures, to be totally honest with you. I had something says hashtag strengthen scriptures. Because every morning I started dedicating myself to like more of a devotional period where I spent a lot of time uh, looking up scriptures. So I would do something like, scriptures about faith or scriptures about being strong or scriptures about wisdom and patience and power. And I would just pull up scriptures and I would just dive into that. I find a scripture that really hit me and give me some energy and I would dive into it. So like I would see what other people are saying. I ain't gonna lie, that gave me strength. Then of course, I had Ryan on my side. So like I said one time too, Ryan and Rollin was like a 1-2 punch. So like Ryan would give me scriptures for the morning and Rollin would give me like songs to listen to as I go to bed at night to kind of keep my spirits uplifted. So support system and scriptures was all I had.
That's an
And
excellent.
Kristen.
Yes. That's you know what? That is understood like the one in front of the X, okay?
Because y'all are one. But that's important, like that support system. I think about the people who don't necessarily have that and they have to go through it alone. Like I know that mentally, I know how tough that has to be. So like we keep it really, really real in our conversation. So we out there. So
I think I heard a real segment with Ian and I got nervous. I'm like, I'm glad they didn't
Two
ask me.
Virgils. He kept it all the way two Virgils.
We keep it two Virgils on this show. So my question is, was there a time, just for the sake of transparency, was there a time where you thought this could really not turn out good? Something could go left. And even though I have my support system and I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, there is still something, there's a possibility that this could not go well. What was that like?
So to be totally honest with you, I don't know if I had one, but so I'm gonna say this. I don't think I had that. I didn't think that I was gonna make it. I never had that mentality because I did a lot of stuff to kind of make sure that I didn't fall into that, right? Because it's a mental thing. So like every morning I woke up and I walked a mile with my mask because I walked a mile because I felt like my lungs depended on it at that point.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So like still today, people ask me like, man, how much weight you lost, how much you did all that with all that walking and jogging. I'm not really on a lose weight journey. I'm on more of a health journey than anything. Like it's just if you stay healthy, everything helps. But I did have a thing where it felt like in my mind that being at a hospital would be better than being at home. So I did have that thought process because in my mind, I was thinking that, okay, I'll be hooked up to these things. I have round the clock care. Um, if anything ever happens, somebody could rush in and help me out with whatever I need help with. So it was that ran across my mind. It was this one night. I had just came back every week I went to go get checked to make sure I was gonna be straight. So it was this one night they just told me everything was good, my lungs was good, my oxygen was doing good, all that. But that night, I never really had breathing problems. But when you cough so hard trying to get the mucus up, it was so hard to catch your breath right after you cough.
Yeah.
So what was happening with me at night, I would just keep coughing. So every time, like when I get up to use the restroom, right, I would cough and then try to catch my breath, but I couldn't because I coughed again. So it was this one night in particular that I was just like, you know what, this is it. Like I'm about to call 911 to come pick me up. Like Kristen gonna have to just, wake up, you know what I'm saying? And I'm gonna do this. And something stopped me. I didn't. I just said, you know what? I'm gonna just go to bed. And literally, that was my mindset. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna just go to bed. Because you start thinking about it. Is that really better than being at home with, they're not gonna be bringing me the food I was eating when I did eat. I really didn't eat as much. Are you gonna get, you're one of what hundreds that's in
Oh
there.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So am I really gonna get that round the clock care? And all that went through my mind. So yeah, I just went to bed and thank God I'm still here, right?
Amen to that.
Yeah.
So you mentioned your brothers, Ryan and Rollin, helping you out, but being that they are back in Lake Charles with your mom and dad, and you're 2 hours away in Baton Rouge,
Yeah.
the immediate family, your immediate family, what role did they play in just helping you make it through? Like we know that Ryan, they gonna be on top of it because that's how they roll. That's how family is. Ryan
Right.
was sending you the scriptures, Rollin was sending you the music, but
Yeah.
just our family is just so close knit. I think when we found out, we were like we were all just like, oh
Yeah.
it was just we couldn't believe it. And I was like, okay, COVID, you're getting
Like
too
you tripping.
personal.
Yeah. Real
It's
talk.
hitting too close to home. You playing, this ain't
You
funny
doing
no
too
more.
much
Like
now.
you doing too
Doing
much.
the most.
So just like when you talk about family and how close, we are, what role for you did family play in your recovery process?
So, man, I can go down the list. So it was weird. So of course, let me start with my mom and dad, and I'm gonna keep this short and sweet. My mom was, so my mom had been getting a lot of prayer requests anyway from people that had already, had it and things of that nature. So she was already aware of what the success rate was with COVID, right? So the stuff that we don't see, she knew it because she went through firsthand. So her role was really keep me uplifted with the success rate of people that actually went through COVID and things of that nature. My dad, and this is what I always hope I don't, I know this is supposed to keep it real, right? My birthday in July, so I get emotional sometimes.
Yeah.
So my dad played a big part, because it was just one conversation that, during these type of things, you start questioning like, God, why me, right? Especially when you see other people. I know how y'all feel when y'all wear masks and y'all see people not wearing masks where y'all are, and you're like, man, what the what's the deal, right? So like, I see people not wearing it. I see people that weren't taking it serious, and I call myself taking it serious, and I end up getting it. So I was on the phone with my dad one day, and I was just like, man, like, why me? And he told me, man, like, man, when I had my heart surgery, he said, you know what God told me when I asked him that? I was like, what he told you? He said, why not you?
Okay.
He said, why not you?
Okay. A word.
And yeah, that was the turning point, man. And here I am on my third live podcast talking about how I got through COVID, right?
Yeah.
So why not me? God knew that I was going to be the one that was going to spread the good news for people to hear all over the world, right? Crazy.
Seriously.
Definitely.
Yeah. And when it comes to family outside of that, right? My old Uncle Cecil, man, I gotta give it to him. If y'all don't know my Uncle Cecil, I hope he hear this podcast. But he got a shout out on the podcast, man. But yeah, man. Once the family, start figuring out and what was going on, he reached out and called me. And I think what shocked me with him was that like he talked to me, and he didn't tell me he was about to pray. Like he just went right into it. It was like, yeah, man, everything's good, and I'm glad you're doing well. God, right now, I want. And I was like, I could be doing anything at that time, and I'm like, oh, I better stop doing that. I need to put that down. So, so it was, and once he did that, no lie, he would call like clockwork around like 9:00 every morning and just would pray with me and go through that. And yeah, that was pretty cool. And like even the time that he would miss, he'd say, "Hey nephew," I forgot that I was supposed to call you at
Baby
9.
boy.
Baby boy. I was supposed to call you at 9, nephew, but I missed it. I'm here now. Father, in the name of Jesus. I'm like, whoa, he went right into it again. So, but he definitely uplifted me, man. That was really good for him to like reach out to me every day and kind of pray with me, man. And it was a lot of other people that called and text just to make sure. Your mom, oh my God, like your mom was really Mia, your mother was definitely she definitely kept me intact. Like we would talk about, scriptures. Like she was one of the ones that I would like shoot her a scripture, and it was like she would tell me something and it'd be so funny. The next day what she told me, the scripture would pop out, and I would have to text your mother and be like, hey, like, look, we just talked about this yesterday, right? Yeah, so she really was somebody else to Leon. Shout out to Auntie Maria.
Yeah.
I have a question about Uncle Cecil.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Does he sound like
baby girl?
Does he sound like Pops from the Wayans brothers?
Oh,
because that's what I was getting.
That's a close comparison. I don't think nobody put that comparison.
You on to something.
I hope he listened to this because that is hilarious.
I'm gonna have to send it to him.
Oh my goodness, Pops! Bang 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 bang. That's Bro, y'all are funny on this podcast.
Hey, we clown. We definitely clown. We with the shenanigans all the time.
I could do this every week.
Oh yeah,
this type of laugh.
Come on into the room.
Guest spot on the podcast.
Oh man, that'll be funny.
So when did you actually? So you went through this whole process. When did you start feeling better? Was it just like one morning you woke up and was like, "Oh, the cough don't hurt as much"? Right. Like, what was it for you?
What's crazy is it was about day 12. Because trust me, you're definitely at this point, right?
Marking off the days on the calendar.
Yeah, you're definitely marking the days off, man. And it was the 12th day. I felt better. I started feeling a little bit better. So I was like, all right, man, I'm glad I got through this thing, right? So you got to go 72 hours symptom free before you can go get tested again. So I waited 72 hours symptom free, went to go get tested, and I was still positive.
Dang.
Right.
That's that letdown.
So,
oh my God.
Super letdown. Still positive. So I was like, all right, you know what I'm saying? In my mind's eye, at least I feel better. You know what I'm saying? But then you also think about like, man, what is this thing doing to my body while I'm feeling so good?
Seriously, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So then the next thing I started thinking about was like, man, they telling everybody 14 days, and that's not all the way positive.
Right.
It could be longer than that, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
So interesting. So now you gotta wait 7 days from that test to come back and get tested, right? So that was the rule at the time. Well, lucky me, the CDC changed the guideline on that Sunday in the middle of my 7th day, and then I had to wait 10 days. So I had to wait 3 more days after I was ready to go get it again. And prayerfully took it again for the 3rd time, but they don't get your results back because I did it on the weekend. So that was longer with not even knowing what was going on. So it was 26 days I was positive.
I'm about to say you basically went a full another 14 days after that.
That's exactly what happened. But what's so weird about it, then you start getting stuff, because I got people in the medical field just like y'all do, and it's like you start hearing stuff like, man, all these false positives and all these false negatives.
Yeah.
And then the company that I had mine with was one of the ones that was high with the false results. And, it's just so much into it. It's so much into it. And it's going to be 3 to maybe 5 years, in my opinion, before we know what happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree. So let's say you go through this whole COVID, and I would say, because I say a lot of people who have tested negative, like you said, they're still in recovery they don't know the effects that it's had on their bodies. Have you
Oh,
noticed anything different with your body functions?
yes, yes. Like once again, I just talked to somebody today that she said she's still having chest pains and she's been done with it for a little minute. Man, I don't know if it was my like so I have sinuses, right? That's the number one thing to have in Louisiana.
Yes, yes.
So I never knew if my throat had as much. You done heard me clear my voice a couple times on this call, so I don't know if my throat always had a lot of mucus buildup beforehand, but now I definitely like feel like
You're
it's
aware
I
of it.
definitely got yeah I'm a
Yeah.
lot more aware of it. Um, I was worried about my neck and stuff like that. And that could have came, of course, from ergonomics, bad posture. You going out from driving and doing the job that I do and coming back and sitting at home for 2 months straight working on a computer. Your ergonomics can get off. But I'm a very I'm a very much a believer in the chiropractor. So I definitely went there and got that all
That
taken
must
care
be
of.
a
Yes,
family
indeed.
trait because your girl is too.
Yes,
I'm
indeed.
definitely I'm definitely a chiropractor type guy.
Yes, indeed.
When
So,
you finally tested negative, and like I'm gonna assume that your headspace had changed because you finally had got some good news. But
Yeah.
during that time, was there anything that you learned from it, that you took from it, that you was thankful for from having that experience?
Yeah. One of the biggest things is, like I said, I really believe it's more positive than negative experience. And I've been saying that. I told somebody like, man, it kind of feels weird that you're here now, like you said, now that you done had it and you went through this. Like
Hmm.
it was almost like it sounds weird, and I'm not meaning this by any means, but like it was more of a thankful that this did like happen because crazy things happen to make you change your outlook, right? So
right,
think about it like now, like I love going to walk and jog every morning. Like this is like so fun to me. Like
right, right.
when I was in Ohio and to jog and walk from Kentucky to Ohio over 3 bridges, like the scenery, like all that was like fun to me. You know what I'm saying? So that was one part of it. The second part is, man, is I believe I got a lot closer to God just by scripture readings and stuff like that,
Yeah.
right? I'm more involved in the church. You know how they do, right? So I'm more involved in the church now. I do a lot of things to help my pastor get his vision across, all that type of stuff, man. So I definitely think that this was a more positive approach that
Hmm.
they had on me negative. And once again, we're not even gonna know what negatively it did to my body for another year and a half, I believe.
Hey,
So
that's true. Yeah. I think for sure, I think the whole family, I can speak for the whole family when I say it's really a blessing to have you come out on the other side of COVID because we know that everybody doesn't make it through. And like what you were saying earlier, that's something that you learn that you can't take that for granted. So even the
yeah,
smallest things like a walk or a jog or just breathing fresh air, being able to walk outside or just little
yeah,
stuff, that you can't take that for granted. There's a
you can't.
huge increase in appreciation for life. So
Yeah.
you're here, you're well, you're recovering, moving forward. That's just it's to me, I think that's really just a miracle. Like
Well, I
we
appreciate
could
that.
talk
Yeah,
about it in hindsight. That's a
yeah.
miracle for a lot of people who are recovering.
Yeah.
Uncle, my great uncle on my mom's side, he was diagnosed with it in a nursing home, and
Mm,
we get to hear that he's recovering.
that's
We
good.
had another cousin who tested positive before all of the
Hmm.
hype, and he went through a struggle, but he recovered from it. So, like appreciation for life is real. Like appreciation that all of these people are still here despite the numbers. That's, that appreciation is real. So what do you want other people to learn from your personal experience with having COVID and recovering?
We spend a lot of time um in my perspective, right? Focusing on the little things, right? And I see more of appreciation whenever I do leave the country and travel and stuff, that you just see like the little that they do and the lot that we have, and we still complain. It's weird. Like we still complain. So, man, everybody just be humble, dog. Like that's the biggest thing, bro. Let y'all just be humble, man. Tell somebody you love them. So, if you can't be humble for yourself, be humble for your little one, your grandmother, your mother, your father, somebody you love.
That's a word right there.
Yeah. Well, Mike, thank you so much for coming on. And for this week, we actually wanted to introduce something new that we call the Blackity Black Business, BR, the BBB.
The BBB.
And the BBB are the triple Bs. And
Okay.
Mike, I know that you have a few businesses that you would like to speak on. So can you tell us a little bit about those and where we can go to check them out?
Yes, Blackity Black Business.
Yes,
What's up? The first segment, I feel so excited and honored to be part of this BBB, triple Bs, you know what I'm saying? So with triple Bs, I guess I could drop 3 businesses to be able for you all to follow and focus with, right? So number one, edible arrangements. Yes, Edible Arrangements is a family-owned business with the Pipers out in Lake Charles, Louisiana. You don't have to live in Lake Charles to support. A lot of people say, man, I want to support you, but we don't live in Lake Charles. All you have to do is know what you want to order and call the store, and we can get an arrangement or whatever type of gift delivered to anywhere in the United States, as long as there's a Edible Arrangements there. So Edible Arrangement, follow us on Facebook, right? I got to do that plug, right? At Edible Lake Charles, LA. You can follow us on Facebook. Okay, that's 1B with Blackity Black Business. So that was the Blackity one. Now let's go to the Black. Hashtag another Lake Charles product. She is rolling into space. Hashtag another Lake Charles product. So hashtag another Lake Charles product was something that I thought about maybe about a year ago. And I was just wondering, there's so many people, like, look at you all, like, look at this. Look at these Lake Charles products that's on this podcast. And you got people that's in Houston, you got people that's in New York, you got people that's in Norway, people in Japan. I interviewed somebody from Japan. Oh, I'm sorry, South Korea. Let me get that right. But anyway, like, there's so many people spread out throughout the country from Lake Charles that's doing their thing. And hashtag another Lake Charles product is that. Our goal on there is to highlight people that's from Lake Charles that's doing their thing. And if a single mom, housewife, and serving for 4, 5, 3 kids, 2 kids, however, is what you're doing, we got to highlight you because that's a superwoman in my eyes. So those are the things that we do with hashtag another Lake Charles product. That's on Facebook as well. You can literally just type in hashtag another.
Check it out. I read about it on your Facebook. I actually forgot about it when you was mentioning. I was like, oh yeah, I remember seeing it.
And I had to shout out Russell, man, because I reached out to Russell Ledette, and he's from Lake Charles. He's a doctor. He started the 15 white coats that y'all may have seen that went viral. 15 African American doctors in coats standing on plantations with the fist up. So that went viral. So I said, this is the guy I have to get to help me with this. And here we are now. We're doing it, touching, a lot of people from Lake Charles. And last but not least, man, this is something that I just publicly released on my birthday, July 20th, just to, if y'all want to give me something and y'all missed it. So this is called Piperspective Priming. Piperspective Priming is a marketing agency that helps small businesses understand what virtual marketing is about. And I'm gonna shout my team out on here because a lot of people don't even know who's on my squad. So this will be the first. Here we go. This is exclusive. BBB Blackity Black Business exclusive. Breaking news. first and foremost, I'm gonna say when you look at Pipe Perspective, the way it's written, we have capital P, and then we also have a capital SP. Everything means something. The capital SP is for Sproul. Shout out to Joseph Sproul. He's a videographer on the squad. Bruh, this dude here is amazing. I know y'all seen some of his work. And then of course the Piper part of it. So I had to grab another Piper. Shout out to Ian Piper that runs all the Instagram. He runs all our stories. If you follow this dude on Instagram, you'll see how creative he gets with his stories. So that was the plan. He runs all the businesses that all our clients, he runs their Instagram page and stuff like that. So we do consultations, we do content creation, we do media management. So if you need somebody to focus on your social media, we do all that. One-stop market agency. And if we can't do it, we third-party people to make sure that we get it done. So
that's what's
Blackity Black Business. BBB.
Yes.
Business.
Three businesses. One for each B. That's what I'm talking about.
That's what I'm talking about.
That's
exclusive.
That's what we do, you know.
Them pockets must be bulging.
Slim. Let me help you. Let me finish that statement. The pockets are slim. Let me start there, right? You know, people got this perception like when you start a business, you're like, yes,
got that money.
Got that money. Yes. Like, no, like that ain't how that work. Like it don't work.
You
like
operating straight off of passion and vision right now.
That's big. That's big.
Passion and business. That's what we got right now. We gonna wait till the money rolls in.
It's coming though. It's coming.
So
hey, this podcast is amazing.
Sure.
I'm gonna plug the podcast, Blackity Black
Sure.
Businesses. Like the podcast, you know, you all are doing something special in the community. And what's funny about that, or what's crazy, is that you guys are in two different communities.
Absolutely.
So now you are touching two different communities by way of our podcast.
Yeah.
Y'all really need to hold on to that, man. African American women is a thing, and that often gets overlooked. And you all are doing what you need to do on here, so definitely keep that up. Hopefully, they gave y'all some inspiration.
For sure, we appreciate that. We love all feedback, man. We love
right in the hort, like.
Hey, hopefully this ain't my last time. That was my selling. Did I do good?
No,
did I sell my
You did good.
All right. Appreciate y'all.
All right. Thank you for talking to us and bringing awareness from your personal experience. Like I said, COVID hits home. We are glad that you are doing well, recovering. And, you know, we going to keep it pushing. We're going to keep encouraging and uplifting and these new lifestyle changes that we all are adopting because of COVID and because we see how important it is. We're gonna keep it pushing. We're gonna keep doing it.
I'm with it. I want to keep pushing. Once again, thank y'all for even thinking about little old me, as they say at the church. Right? Thank y'all for thinking about me, man, to jump on here. This won't be the last time. Next time we could talk about some fun stuff.
Won't.
Oh yeah, we with the shenanigans.
Even though, yeah, I know y'all with this. I'm telling you, I heard that one with Ian, and I was like, oh my goodness. So I'm down for a little fun with that. Maybe we can get me and Ian on at one time.
Oh, I don't know about that. Hold up.
Well, we will talk to you later.
Yes, later. Thank y'all very much.
We appreciate it.
Bye, Mike. We'll talk to you later.
All right, girl.
So another not so private conversation. Remember last week I said we might have something serious to talk about? We might not. How did I do this week?
We did. Look at her. Finally doing something serious with her life. For a change.
Finally.
She gonna stop trolling people for 1 week to have a serious conversation.
I be trying, you know.
Well, hopefully next week it'll be like in the middle.
I ain't gonna make no promises. I won't make any promises.
Look, and on that note, look, me and the LDB's like, okay, girl, bye. We're gonna talk to you next
Wrap
week
it
for another
up.
not so private conversation. Peace.
Do this.
Thank you so much, long distance besties, for joining us again for another not so private conversation. Don't forget to check us out on Instagram at Jeanne V. Williams. That's at Jeanne, Jeanne V. Williams, and at Perfectly Mia. That's at Perfectly MIA. And if you have any topic suggestions or any questions, you just shoot us an email at notsoprivatepod@gmail.com.
Make sure you hit the subscribe button. We definitely appreciate it. Remember to leave a review on Spotify, Apple, and Google. You can also find us at Radio Public, Pocket Cast, Overcast, and Breaker. And you can find us on anchor.fm/notsoprivatepod. Now you can also hear us on YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, the Not So Private Podcast channel. Now, with all of that being said, join us next time for another Not So Private conversation.